So we've just bumped into Ben Collins.
There's a car inside that I would like to show you.
No.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Welcome to Sports and Touring, aka SNT, and today we are on our way to go and watch the Formula One at a secret location. There are going to be a number of special cars because it's going to be part of SCC Private Members season opener meet. It's going to have a selection of all sorts of supercars.
So we're going to DTO Motorsport that run their own customer track days, and they also do some racing themselves. We're going there to watch the Australian Grand Prix. So really exciting, got a big screen to watch that on, around some supercars and around some race cars.
Right, better get going.
Yo, rev the engine, it's a father-son story. Sports and touring, only glory. Driving cars that keep dreams alive. Talk up and cruise all day, all night. This channel's for the world, come join this ride.
Right, so we are here. There are quite a good selection of cars already.
I am always impressed with the cars that SCC Private Members manages to bring together. So maybe we take a look around, and we've been given exclusive behind the scenes access to DTO's area before anyone else is allowed in there. And we will be showing you that shortly. But first, let's show you around the cars in the car park.
I've already seen my favorite car here, but it's not a supercar.
Hang on. What do you mean your favourite? This is your favourite car here.
I've already seen my favourite car here, but it's not a supercar.
You're walking home.
Now, this is only the start of the day and there's still plenty more cars to come, but this is already my favourite car here. I love it. Not a supercar, it is a muscle car, all out muscle. C6 Corvette Z06 with the LS7 7-litre V8. Just an absolute animal. I love the fact that it's got the T-top, you can take the top off. It just looks absolutely wicked. Only really beaten by the ZR1 in my opinion. But I know this isn't necessarily your cup of tea. You're not as big into muscle cars as I am, but come on.
Yeah.
You like the C7 though?
I like the C7, yeah. This is the 6, so. But no, the C7, ZR1, absolutely love it. And it's on our list as a sort of dream tourer for Europe. So if we're going to Europe, that we have one of those just to drive across Europe, drive down to the Nürburgring, drive around the Nürburgring, because it's left-hand drive and just makes sense in Europe.
And they're not ridiculously priced. So I'm hoping that I will see one of these in my garage or collection in the relative near future.
Did you say C1? It's a C6.
Oh, you.
And dropping gems, OG with precision. Damani's angles hitting apexes, no indecision. Garage talk deep, life lessons in the grease. From the track to the road, they never miss a piece.
Now, another one of my dream cars, also not a supercar, is this Aston Martin Vanquish. I think one of the best, most beautifully designed cars. This and the previous Vanquish were just absolutely gorgeous. This one has a really interesting fade on the bonnet that goes from the factory paint and then fades all the way up to a dark grey that matches the carbon on the roof.
That looks really nice. I really like that.
It's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not something that I necessarily say I do, but I really like it when people put these personal touches on their cars, because that is just something really, really different, and it makes it stand out as a one of its own. I feel like most of my favourite cars here today probably won't actually be supercars, but we'll see. Maybe there are some that will come later that will change my mind.
Now, the thing is though, SCC does not stand for Supercar Club. It stands for the Somerset Car Club. And it's actually about enthusiast cars, but just on the higher end of the spectrum.
It seems like they'll let absolutely anything in these days as well.
Yeah, just an Audi.
Oh, I didn't focus. I couldn't get my joke off.
Turbocharged dreams, look how they climb. Vlogging through the season, sometimes we rewind. From JDM classics to supercar rides, they keep it authentic, no rep designs.
Right, I have lost Damani somewhere, but this is one of my favourite cars. This is a 488 Pista. I've never driven one, and apparently I might get a chance to drive one this summer. but styling wise, this is one of my favorite modern Ferraris. Also, I did actually think about buying a 488. I test drove one on the JM & Friends channel, but it wasn't for me in the end. It was just, I don't know, it was almost there, and I have a feeling this would be the car that would just tip the balance. The only problem is, one of these is about double the price, slightly outside my budget at present. And when you see the pista, you can see it next to its base car, the 488, and you can see what a difference all of that aero makes to the car. It's just such a fabulous piece of work that they did to get this car looking as it is. Now, one of the craziest cars I've ever driven is the Ferrari 296, 830 horsepower out of its V6, a 3-litre V6 twin turbo, which on its own produces around 600 horsepower. Then the remaining horsepower comes from electric motors. And the thing that really just blew my mind with this is the fact that you can actually put the power down. Obviously it pulls some of the torque, and it only gives you just as much as you can actually use, even if there is a bit of wheel spin. And what I found when I put my foot down for the first time in this thing, the car started squirming all over the place, but even though it was doing that, somehow it just kept the car going more or less in a straight line. You had to make a few little adjustments with the steering wheel just to keep the front wheels pointing in the direction you wanted to go. The back end was moving around a little bit, but oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Enthusiast cars, road trip vibes, shows and meets, living the life. Let's all go. You enjoying this ride? Keep it real, let go. Relax, just drive.
Now, I just heard from the owner of this particular car that he has been listening to our new podcast over on JM & Friends with JM on Cars, the Radiator Arms, along with our good friend Will. Now, the owner of this car took his M3 Touring on a drive across the NC 500 across Scotland, and while he was on that trip, apparently we kept him company. He was listening to our conversation on the Radiator Arm, so if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure you do. I'll leave a link in the description. Along with the 296, the 720S is a car that just blows my mind in terms of its actual overall performance. Now, there aren't huge differences between the 720 and the 750S, and personally I would really like to be able to have the opportunity to drive these back to back, because I have a feeling that you can't really appreciate the differences until you probably drove them next to each other. The McLaren Artura is a car that I am super curious about, because I think this is one of those cars that, whilst its launch was delayed, I think that probably resulted in a lot of people kind of having second thoughts about it. I think this is one of those cars that's probably quite underrated. Right, here we have a car that I still have not driven. This is a 600 LT Spider, and one of the reasons why I haven't driven it is because I know when I do, I am going to want one.
I'm convinced the second you drive one, you're going to put everything on the line to get it. It is, from what I've heard, I've never driven one either, but you loved the way the 675 LT drove, you enjoyed the 12C when you drove it, you enjoyed the 720S. This is apparently the better driver's car out of all of those. So I'm not really sure it could get much better. Lighter, 600 horsepower, don't really need much more for the UK. And it looks amazing.
And the exhausts come out of the top of the car. I mean, these things, they shoot flames, and with a little bit of a tuning, they can shoot even bigger flames. But just imagine having the roof down and seeing those flames firing up above the car in your rearview mirror. What an epic car. Now, I really wanted to own a Lamborghini first, and the Spiders were a little bit beyond my budget at the time. Although that isn't strictly true, because I could have sold the R8 GT and then bought this.
Yes. And
have some spare. But no, I had to have the Lamborghini and the R8 GT at the same time. Don't ask me why. I know whatever anyone says, they are not the same cars.
They are very different, but this is more different.
I agree.
I think this will see the driveway at some point. I do foresee it in your future. I'm envisioning it. 600 LT Spider in white, SNT spec, white with red accents, carbon fiber. Oh, there we go. Play that clip in a few years when yours is on the driveway.
I'm going to save that one. But these are very cool cars. Now, we've got our Lamborghini Gallardo LP570-4 Superleggera Edizione Tecnica standing here.
Well, I did think it was the only one of its kind here, but we've got a bunch of other Volkswagens over there as well, so there are lots. But it is the only Lamborghini here.
You are definitely walking home.
But yeah, it's quite crazy to see for a supercar event, for it to be the only Lamborghini here. You'd expect to see some other Gallardos, maybe Huracans, maybe the odd Aventador. Yeah, the only Lambo.
Crazy.
Sports and touring, we rev that life. Ride through the lanes, no stress, no strife. From rim to road, motors igniting fire. Chasing every curve, dreams lifting us higher.
Now, this is an Ariel Atom. This is a 3.5R, but this isn't even as quick as the one that you got to drive at JM's track day last year.
Yeah, I got a very lucky opportunity. One of the guys that were down there asked for some tips and advice, so I jumped in the passenger seat with him. Obviously, we couldn't talk while we were out in the car like I was doing with some of the other guys. So we had to do the laps and then come in, and I gave him some feedback. And he was like, "Do you mind just showing me?" I was like, "Yeah." So sent it around and had an absolute blast. I think we've got a couple clips of me driving it around, and because it was quite last minute and I didn't know that I was going to be driving it, we didn't get a chance to rig up a camera on the car itself, which would have been awesome to have that footage. But ridiculous thing. I've never driven anything like it. The closest kind of experience is something like this, Caterham, when we drove the 420R at Donington. But the difference with this is that is front engine, rear wheel drive. This is rear mid-engined, rear wheel drive. So you've got completely different driving dynamic. The only real reason that they're similar is because they both weigh nothing. The one that I drove weighed about 600 kilos, and on its top map it had over 400 horsepower. So the power to weight ratio was crazy. The closest car I've ever driven to it would probably be like a single seater, like a Formula Renault or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that's just how it drives. I know everyone says, yeah, my car's a race car for the road, like GT3 RS, oh, it's a race car for the road, which they are very good, and they are like race cars for the road, but this is like a freaking Formula 1 car for the roads. I don't think you can get much closer, other than maybe an AMG 1, because that has a literal F1 engine in it. But yeah, mental.
Right, now we did say to you that we had exclusive access to the cars that are inside DTO, so we're going to take you behind the scenes and show you around now before the place gets too crowded.
So we've been given special access to DTO before the event starts, while they're still setting up in the background, to take a closer look, and this gives us a perfect opportunity to get up close with cars like this, the Porsche 911 GT2 RS. This place is probably going to be filled with people watching the F1 on that big screen, so we get the chance to have a look at this now. Not just this car, but every car in this room is pretty much your spec, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm all about white cars with black details. Obviously, I'd normally have a little bit of red or orange in there.
This thing is ridiculous. When it came out, it set the Nürburgring lap record for a production vehicle. I love the details of the carbon bonnet and these crazy huge intakes, the carbon fiber vents everywhere. It is just an absolute machine. It's essentially very similar to basically a GT2 RS and a Turbo S had a baby, and it is just wicked. But as you were saying, the race cars.
Yes, and in particular, this Ginetta here. Now this one has a V8 in it. I've never driven one of these with that particular engine, but I have driven one of these with the Ford engines. Now, these are incredible cars to drive on track. I got to drive one of these thanks to Damani buying me a birthday gift, where I was taken to Palmer Sport and they had one of these, and I absolutely love driving it. Now I'm going to be returning the favour to him in due course. But moving on, we've also got this Ferrari 488 Challenge. Now Damani isn't a fan of the looks of this car, but personally I like it. I think it's very, very aggressive, and if money was no object, I'd want to have one of these on the road.
It's not that the only thing I don't like about the way these look aesthetically is the like snout that it's got on the front end coming out. these like additional carbon fibers. I don't even know what's called other than snouts. I think everything else is cool. I think the hood's cool with the louvers. I think that winglet below the wing mirror is very cool. The wing, the canards, everything else, it's just the snout I'm not a fan of.
I can understand where you're coming from, but I like it. But that's because it looks like a boar. Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
With the tusks.
Pig with tusks.
Well, I guess it's not for looks. It's a car that is built for aerodynamics in racing. So unfortunately, sometimes we have to compromise on style in order to get performance. And
Tell that to Lamborghini when they make the Super Chauffeur series cars.
oh yeah, no, yeah, they don't do that, do they?
No.
No, their cars just look epic.
Exactly. Now, one of the cars in here that you can tell isn't part of the fleet, I'm assuming, I want to find out more about this later, I don't know if maybe the owner of DTO owns this car, is this gorgeous Esprit. You can tell it's a DTO car because it has DTO on the plate, but it's obviously not liveried up like the rest, and I don't think they want customers ragging these around circuits during their track days and stuff, but this thing is beautiful. I've always wanted one of these. I'm assuming this is the V8 twin turbo? Did they all come with V8 twin turbos?
No, they were 4-cylinders as well. But I do love the sort of extra wing that goes over the top here. That's just like,
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a stunning car. I actually wanted an Esprit for quite some time, but never actually managed to get one. But the interior on this is gorgeous. You can see this has been well looked after. A 110R that they have also. This is interesting. This looks like, you said it looks like an Altura.
It is an Altura. You can tell by the scoops on the door.
Ah, yes, indeed.
You have two AMG GTRs.
I've never actually driven one of those, but I have to say they're not cars that have really inspired me at any time. But the car that has inspired me is this. This is the McLaren 765 LT. Now, I have had the good fortune of driving a 720S, but this one here is the 765. And I think the 765 LT solved all of the exterior styling issues that I personally had with the 720S. The 720S I felt was like a mixture of aggression and elegance, and it almost like it didn't know quite what it wanted to be. But this adds the aggression to all the places where there was elegance in its design, whilst retaining the flowing lines that do provide a certain degree of elegance, but without compromising on its aggression. Honestly, the performance on the 720 was bonkers. The 765 must be even more. I really liked one of these cars, and I almost bought a 720S instead of my Gallardo, but I'm glad I bought the Gallardo.
Don't mind. Sounds better, in my opinion, looks better, but you just can't, I don't know. Every time you'd have a 720S, you'd see a 765 and think, oh, I wish I had that. Whereas you've got like the Gallardo. So.
Now, SCC Private Members brought along a surprise guest, Ben Collins, former Stig, presenter and stunt driver, the latter being a dream job of my son. So we thought we'd take the opportunity to find out from Ben, first, what did he think of the event, but also any advice for my son on how he could become a stunt driver himself.
First of all, I'd ask you, what do you think of today's event?
Oh, it's great. Love getting together with a load of supercar owners to go and watch the Grand Prix. It's the first Grand Prix of the year, which is always mega exciting, with all the new talent that's come in. So it's been quite fraught watching some of those guys get into grips with it, literally. A few spins and some crashes, but it just goes to show how tricky these things are to drive. But no, it's brilliant fun.
Damani, so tell Ben just a little bit about what you've done, and maybe he can give you some tips about how you could get started in stunt driving like he does.
When I was younger, I did some racing. I was racing in the Volkswagen Racing Cup, and then decided to take a break to finish education, studied motorsport engineering at university. After that, it's an interim job. I was doing some track instructing, drift instructing, some minor stunt instructing, and yeah, now I'm kind of fully into my engineering side, test development engineering, but I've always still got a love for driving, and I just do it in my fun spare time. But kind of was just wondering, for the young person who's really into their driving, I kind of wanted to potentially get into that lane. What advice would you give for people to get into stunt driving? Obviously, generally a lot of stunt drivers don't have a motorsport background, but how do you kind of transition from there into Hollywood, that kind of scene.
So well, it sounds like you're getting into the training element of it, so it's perfecting that skill. So I think that's route one really. And the more experience you can get under your belt, the better. And then after that, you're just going to try and blag a job. So, and all I can suggest is try and go meet the stunt crews, and in any which capacity you can get in there, to get to know them, and then see if you can get an opportunity. Just try and beat the door down, basically.
Mixture of who you know and what you know.
Yeah, and if you don't know them, you've got to get to know them. But there are routes in, and with the UK they have the stunt register, so you basically pick up, I think it's either 5 or 6 different disciplines, of which driving can be one. So you can train. It takes a long time. It's quite intensive. But you learn all kinds of different skills that then you can use on film. So it depends if that's what you want to do, because once you get going, it's fantastic fun, but it's very busy. You need to be away a lot. If that's your dream, then that's a route. You get your training disciplines going. So if you look up BSR Stunt Register, all the information is there. If you're based in the UK, there's an amazing film industry here, and lots of studios, lots of work, and lots more movies being made in the UK. So it's a good time.
Thank you. Thanks for your time, Ben.
Anytime.
About to usher everyone inside, so before it gets too crowded, there's a car inside that I would like to show you.
As we head inside DTOs, they're about to do their welcome speech for the season opener. There is a special car just around this corner that I want to capture your reaction to.
Has this been moved in since we had our exclusive look? No.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow, that is something. I think maybe we ought to show everyone what I've just seen.
Why do they doubt the kid? I'm about to prove them all wrong again. I got a low tolerance, cause they don't even know what the problem is. It's me. You waiting on the boy to fail, then hold your breath and face your death. Cause you play a roulette with each step. I progress, no less. Go ahead and place your bets. Cause we know where we at, we know we top tier. Cause all the hate that you bring, we know it stops here. I'm taking off like a rocket here and stopping here. It's strange how they cannot see the future, but see profit here. Wait up.
I want to say a huge thank you to SCC Private Members for having us along here today. We've had a great time, and a huge thank you also to DTO Motorsport for looking after the Lamborghini for a couple of days while we were off filming something else. If you've enjoyed today, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because that really helps us a lot, especially if you hit the bell icon, choose notifications on all videos, and then watch this video here, which I know you'll enjoy.